Well, I thought since it's about 30 degrees out, I've already been to the shop this morning and done a few little projects and made some progress on some airplane stuff. I thought we'd talk about what we're going to call the philosophy of building an airplane. And I guess we're talking about my philosophy of building an airplanes because this is a hobby to me. And the end goal is not my primary goal. I've discovered that my primary goal is the journey along the way. So by that I mean, ultimately, I'm probably more of a builder than I am a flyer because I build stuff. I mean, you've seen my messy little shop and everything. We know that's what I do. And I have kind of settled into this airplane building stuff as something that I really do enjoy. Now, the other things that I've got going in the shop, all my Atlas stuff, I do enjoy that, but the parts and things like that that I sell on the website and build for the Atlas machines, as well as building my own machines, that is what pays for my other hobbies, just like these YouTube videos and things like that. The little bit that's there, why that just advances me playing in the shop, and for right now anyway, it's playing with airplanes. So the reason I bring this up is I've got quite a bit of footage shot that I don't think I've edited and released hardly any of it, and I don't know how I'm going to trickle that out there, but it's other airplane projects as well as my Zenith 701. So the question comes up of, well, you haven't finished your 701, what are you doing playing with other projects? Well, I'm far from abandoning the 701, or it's not even, I am making progress on it. Right now I've got a bunch of materials ordered that I'm waiting to arrive. The flaperons are all done with it. I've got material ordered for struts, and we're working on fuel tanks. Starting to work on fuel tanks again. They've been formed, but I've got to finish welding them up and getting all the fittings in them and the wiring in the wings. Once I get that done and the wingtips done, why, those wings can be mounted and we can go on from there. Right now the fuselage is sitting outside, and I don't feel like going out and running cabling or wires or working on instrumentation or any of that stuff yet. So waiting on stuff, waiting on the weather, waiting on materials, parts, waiting on money to buy more materials and parts, whatever the case may be. So I've got a couple other projects that I have started, and one of them is a midget Mustang and the other one is a Bearhawk Companion. And rather than playing with one more project, I'm foolishly playing with two, and there is kind of a method to my madness for doing that. A lot of it is materials and streamlining of processes. Now, the 701, I've learned a tremendous amount on that 701, and it's been and will continue to be a good learning experience and a journey along the way. For the midget Mustang, I said 4 years on the Mustang list, every place else, and I had made a start on a Mustang years and years ago before I even thought of the 701. I bought a set of Mustang plans, midget Mustang plans, used, I think back in, I can tell you when because I can look at the set of plans in the case right here behind me. I purchased those plans back in 2000 and made a start on them. It was beyond my abilities. Probably beyond my means, and I didn't have the equipment or the experience to be building that midget Mustang. I guess that's one of the realities of it. I did do some form blocks and stuff for that, which I just now came across, even though I've done some other stuff with form blocks and everything already. Came across those here just the other day, and there's a few parts that I started on and everything, but that's as far as it really got. So if we fast forward, I started on this 701. It's a relatively easy plane to build, even as a plans built plane. Learned a tremendous amount, and I've gathered equipment along the way for that. I've gathered up quite a bit of equipment, and equipment that I didn't need for that plane too. So we've either built or bought quite a bit of stuff that will come in very handy, are almost necessities or are necessities for some of these next two projects. So I did turn around and as I was looking for another project, and I started probably a year and a half ago, because I knew once I finished the 701 or got it very near being done, I was going to want another project. I looked at the Mustang II and I compared them to my midget Mustang plans, and then I turned around and I ordered a set of Mustang II plans here a little more than a year ago, I guess. Now the problem with either Mustang plans or midget Mustang plans is all you can really buy is a set of plans. Talked about it before. The support for those airplanes is very poor at best. So I looked at both the Mustang II and the midget Mustang as plans built only, and I needed to be able to acquire the materials to build those from other sources other than the primary supplier of those. So the midget Mustang kind of fit the bill. The Mustang II would have been a nice plane to build, but it did not really fit my mission. It was fast, which I liked. It is kind of a proven airframe. There's a lot of them out there. Two-seat, side by side. The problem is I still have a dog. If we're doing, my wife and I, we still have a dog to deal with. So the Mustang II didn't really fit the bill for that. The midget Mustang is a little sports car, and when I look at the midget Mustang, it is a relatively quick build, and that's a relative term, just how quick build it is, even as a plans built plane. But it's a relatively simple plane for what it is. And small, quick, like I say, I consider it to be relatively quick build, relatively inexpensive. And I look at this only from a plans built perspective, because that's what I'm doing, is plans built. The other one was I looked at the Bearhawk line, and I settled on the Companion because two seats, and I looked at the bigger planes. I looked at the 4-place, and I also looked at the Bearhawk 5, which is a 6-place airplane. Would have been really cool. The downside is quite a bit more operating cost, in my opinion, and a lot of more airplane than I needed, realistically. Even the 4-place would have been very nice, but I think the Companion's a good compromise. It's got a lot of cargo capacity and a lot of space. It uses the 4-place fuselage, so I have room for the dog, basically, plus whatever gear we want. Anyway, those are kind of the reasons I've settled on those two. And the reason I'm kind of moving forward on both of them at once is ease of processing parts. You know, if I'm building form blocks for the midget Mustang, it's just as easy while I'm making that same mess and everything. I've got routers out, I've got sanders out, I've got everything out I need to deal with the mess for both sets of form blocks, you know, wing form blocks for the Bearhawk Companion, and wing form blocks and bulkheads for the midget Mustang. So I can do those all at once, makes it a little bit easier to process them through. The other one that's actually kind of a big deal is material cost. They both require some parts that are out of raw material. You have to buy full sheets. And when we look at 125 thickness 2024 aluminum is a perfect example. Spar stiffeners are both on the Bearhawk. You need almost a full 12 foot. On the midget Mustang, I think you can get by with 8 foot of 125. Well, when I look at cost of those all have to be freighted in. There's no way around it. You're going to pay freight on those. I've been searching suppliers that I've never used before and checking around, and nobody seems to be able to supply that material in a cost-effective manner, we'll say. and you can break sheets down different ways to get to 12 foot, things like that. The bottom line is it's any place from $350 to $500 is about where we're at for freight to get that in here. It's not really any cheaper if I buy a half sheet, 2 foot by 12, 1 foot by 12s, whatever the case may be. There doesn't seem to be any good way around it. So I can at least somewhat justify the cost of a sheet of 125 thousandths, we'll use as an example. I can at least somewhat justify that cost by saying, half of that is for this airplane and half of that's for that airplane. So that's kind of my reasoning on that. If I'm, an aluminum sheet seems to be the main problem. Now, my local supplier, I had high hopes that I was going to be able to source 2024 T3 and T4 aluminum from them. They're telling me no, I can't. They can get it for me, but they're not competitive with paying freight costs in. So I'm having to look elsewhere. They've done real well for me on 701 materials, on 6061 aluminum. They've done real well for me and saved me a lot of money in that build. But I'm just going to have to budget money accordingly and set aside, and like sheet wise, I'm going to have to everything I need full sheets of in the bigger thicknesses, anything over 40 thousandths. If I need full sheets of it, I want to order it all at once, so I only pay that one freight cost. So that's kind of the sourcing of it, which hasn't really bothered me. It's going to hurt me to spend that much money all at once, but by the same token, it's part of the adventure going along sourcing this stuff. I found a couple of other sources for aircraft grade materials that I need that sometimes I can do better at, sometimes I can't do very well at. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So that's why I have, I guess, after all this rambling, that's why I have more than one airplane project going. Now, what I'll finish in my lifetime remains to be seen. But I'm not getting any younger. As I've retired, why I'm my wife's realized that this is what I really enjoy doing, and she's not minding me spending the time in the shop to do this. So good, bad, or otherwise, that's what we're doing. Today I've been out machining down the angle iron for main spars in the Midget Mustang, and I'll throw a little short video clip in here of it. But this was material that I had to search around to source. My normal supplier was able to bring it in for me, but I had to buy a full length of it, which was 25 feet. I needed about 7.5. So I've got other things I'm going to do with the excess materials. I think I've already managed to figure out how I'm going to utilize that. But anyway, the main spar structure in the Midget Mustang is 1.5 by 2 inch angle iron 3/8 thick, and it's kind of made out of unobtainium from what I'm finding. And it's 6061 T6. What I ended up and did was I bought a stick of 2 inch by 2 inch, because you can't get uneven leg, or I have not found uneven leg in 3/8 thickness. So I ended up with 3/8 thick 2 by 2 inch angle aluminum, and I've cut them to length, set them up on the milling machine table, and there's 4 of them. 2 of them I think are 23, and the other one's 19 inches and change. And I set them up on the mill table and shaved them down to 1.5 inches. I still have to put the radiuses on the inside and the outside. There's a small radius on the outer edge, and there's a larger radius. I'm not sure if it's a 1/4 inch radius or an 1/8 inch radius. I'll have to go back and measure it. And I have to put that radius on it yet, but I set it up in the milling machine. I did have to, it's right at the capacity, and it's actually beyond the capacity of my milling machine. I contemplated setting it up on the planer, but I ended up and did it on the mill. On the 23 inch piece, I had to reposition it to get the full length. I cut this off with a fly cutter, which was slow, but on the shorter piece, the 19 and change length piece, with my fly cutter, I could make it end to end in one setting. I still couldn't do that on the longer piece, so I had to reset it. It came out real well. Here, I'll go ahead and run that video along here so you can see it. And I just kind of handheld this. Now you can see on both of these pieces, this is the way I set them up on the mill table, just like that. And the shorter piece that we're running down now, you'll see a big variation. The piece on the right of that looks like it matches the rest of them. I did deburr that edge, and I've hit it with some sandpaper lightly and some Scotch-Brite. Let's see which side we're... Now if we look at this, if I can keep it in focus here, trying to get her in focus. If you look at this piece on the right, I lightly deburred the edges of that, but otherwise that's just the way it came off the mill table. And I scraped that some way right there. It's a scrape that doesn't even show up. That right-hand side, I've sanded it and Scotch-Brited it off, is the way it comes out. One of those sides anyway. This is just straight off the milling table, and you can't feel any of those marks. That one, like I say, I don't know how I did that. But it's nothing that's any kind of a mark. Once I go back and radius it and put the Scotch-Brite along those edges, why they'll be just as good as the factory edges there. So that's what we ended up with there. As I've gone through, I'm going through my tooling and stuff. I've come up with a little bit of excess tooling. One I'm going to load onto the website today, but over the years I've acquired things like a pneumatic squeezer as well as a hand squeezer, which I have used the hand squeezer. I've used the pneumatic on the 701 in a couple of places, but primarily I've used the hand squeezer on it. I purchased it new. I bought a Chicago pneumatic 214 squeezer, and then I've acquired several heads for it over the years. I've got a head that's excess to my needs, which is this head right here. And I think I've got 7 or 8 heads, 6 or 7 heads, something like that. And I have, that's one that I have a duplicate of. I've got 2 of them actually. These are 2.5 inches thick and inch and 3/8 tall, I think, in the throat. Yeah, 2.5 inch yoke, inch and 3/8 thick. Now this one to work on a Chicago pneumatic 214, and it also works on an ATS. What's ATS's number? 114, I guess. Now the only difference, these heads were from, I don't know if they were from Boeing, they were an industrial supplier. This will fit on both of those, but it's got to have a slit cut right here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that slit so it sits all the way down. I notice all the commercial squeezers that we have now, they just are cut off flat right along there. So this one, like I say, the other 2 that I've got have a slit in there, and this one I've got one exactly like this on the squeezer right now. The other one's been ground for some application, give it a smaller insert so you can get it in there. I'm going to keep that head. This one I'm going to throw up on the website, and I'll put a link down in the description. I think brand new, these are just under $140, $138 I think, and from ATS I think Spruce wants $136, $135.99, something like that for them. I'm going to throw that one out there for about $80, $70 and $10 shipping. So it'll be listed on the website when I put this video out. I've only got the one of them. Once it's gone, why it's gone, there'll be no more. I'll probably pull the link down off of the website. We'll see, or else it'll just show out of stock until I do take it down. So anyway, if somebody's interested, it's there. If not, why, it'll go back in the drawer. I'll find a use for it someday, or it'll go to scrap down the road. But what I'm going to do is, once that one's sold, and even if it doesn't sell, why, I'm going to take that money and probably turn around and buy a longeron yoke so that I've got a little bit deeper longeron yoke. Otherwise, I think I have all the yokes I possibly could need to build the next as many airplanes as I'm going to build, and I probably don't need what I've got. I probably don't need a longeron yoke, but like I say, I'll convert that into one. So that's what I've got with those. I just kind of wanted to explain, because there's going to be questions of, well, you're not finishing what you got. Well, no, I'm not finishing what I've got yet. It will be finished. It will be done before anything else is. And I'm working just as hard on it as materials allow as I am on these other projects. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Building an airplane's a tough thing. I really enjoy the thought process of figuring out how things are going together, what I need to order, what I need to have, and how it needs to how it needs to happen in what order. Constantly learning something along the way, and that's what this is all about, I think, as much as anything else. So I've got landing gear to bend up. I just added a new 20-ton press onto my little shop press, and I think that's all I'm going to need to get the landing gear bent. Got quite a few new processes in mind for forming ribs and lightning holes and stuff in the future projects, and we'll just keep moving forward. So hopefully you find something useful here. Hopefully you've tolerated my ramblings. Comments, suggestions, leave them in the comment section for me below, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for taking the time to watch.